Bhagavad Gita. So, chapter number 8, Attaining the Supreme, and the verse is 4. So, if you have Google, so you can type on Google BG 8.4.
Sorry, you said chapter 8?
8. You can type on Google BG 8.4. So first link will open from Vaibhav, so that you can refer. Okay. Everyone got it? आदिभूत शरोभाव
आदिभूतं शरोभाव
पुरुष आदिवैदतम्
पुरुषाश्चादिवैतम्
आदियज्ञोऽहम् एवत्रो देह देहा भृतावरः आदिभूत शरोभाव
आदिभूतं शरोभाव
पुरुषास आदिदैवतम्
पुरुषादिदैवतम्
आदियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र
आदियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र
देहे देहभृतावर
देहभृतावर
आदिभूत शरोभाव
आदिभूतं शरोभाव
पुरुष चिदैवतम्
पुरुषाश्चैवदैवतम्
आदियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र
आदियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र
देहे देहभृतावर. Word by word translation. Adibhutam,
आदिभूतं
the physical manifestation.
the physical manifestation
Shara,
Shara
constantly changing.
constantly changing
Bhavaha,
Bhavaha
nature.
nature
Purushaha,
Purusha
the universal form,
The
including all the demigods like sun and moon.
the universal form including all the demigods like the sun and the moon
Cha,
Sha
and
and
Adidaivam,
Adidevam
called Adidaiva.
Adidevam
Adiyagyaha,
Adiyajnaha
the super soul.
the super soul
Aham,
Aham
I, Krishna.
Krishna
Eva,
Eva
certainly.
certainly
Atra,
Atra
in this. Dehe,
Dehe
body.
body
Deha Britam,
Dehabritam
of the embodied.
of the embodied
Vara,
Vara
obeyed.
obeyed.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature, which is constantly changing, is called as Adibhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods like those of the sun and moon, is called Adidaiva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the super soul in the heart of every embodied being, am called Adiyagya, the Lord of Sacrifice. Purport: the physical nature is constantly changing. Material bodies generally pass through 6 stages. They are born, they grow, they remain for some duration, they produce some byproducts, they dwindle, and they vanish. This physical nature is called Adibhuta. It is created at a certain point and will be annihilated at a certain point. The conception of the universal form of the Supreme Lord, which includes all the demigods and their different planets, is called Adidaiva. And present in the body along with the individual soul is the super soul, a plenary representation of Lord Krishna. The super soul is called the Paramatma or Adiyagya and is situated in the heart. The word Eva is particularly important in the context of this verse because by this word the Lord stresses that the Paramatma is not different from him. The super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, seated beside the individual soul and is the witness of the individual soul's activity and is the source of the soul's various type of consciousness. The super soul gives the individual soul an opportunity to act freely and witness his activity. The function of all these different manifestations of the Supreme Lord automatically become clarified for the pure Krishna conscious devotee engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. The gigantic universal form of the Lord, called Adi Daivam, is contemplated by the neophyte who cannot approach the Supreme Lord in his manifestation as the Supreme Soul. The neophyte is advised to contemplate the universal form or Virat Purusha, whose legs are considered the lower planetary system planets, whose eyes are considered the sun and moon, and whose head is considered the upper planetary system. Hare Krishna. So today we are discussing about the verse number 8.4, okay, from the Bhagavad Gita. So yesterday was which day? Anybody know? Tuesday. Yeah, Ekadashi. What else? So yesterday was a World Mental Health Day. So I decided to talk about the awareness about the mental health. So how many of you think that it is very easy to maintain our body, the physical body? I mean, it is right. You can drink some water. If you even eat salad or something like that, still you can survive, right?
But it is
But no, if you eat one time and if you drink water, still you will survive, right? You can maintain your body, right? But how many of you think that it's very difficult to, manage our mental health, or it is difficult to control our mind? Right? Is it easy? No? Right. So how many of you like to clean their homes? Of course, no one, but they have to do it.
After I met the Hare Krishnas, I started to like cleaning also.
Nice. Especially if you are a pujari.
Or cook.
Yeah, both. Right? So if you are cleaning the house, like if there are big things, right? Like some big plastic bags are there and everything. So it is very easy to clean, right? So you can just lift and just throw in the garbage, right? But there is some dust under the, your chair, under your, sofa, under your bed. It is very difficult to clean, right? So similarly, in this body, in this material body, which is the most subtle thing that we have, is the mind, right? So that's why it's easy to take care of your, physical body, but it's very difficult to take care of the subtle body, that is mind, right? And so what Arjuna says about mind, anybody knows? How many of you read 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita?
Chanchalam Himana Krishna Ramanti.
So if you read 6.34, so what Arjuna says to Krishna, Chanchalahi mana Krishna pramati bala vadridam. Okay, so let's understand what he is trying to say. Okay, so Arjuna says to Krishna about mind, the mind is restless, the mind is turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. Right? So what he is saying, the mind is very restless. Right? So he is saying to the Lord that mind is restless. Right? So God can say, right? Okay, the mind is restless like a kid, just slap him. Right? There is some kids are playing, and if they are so naughty, what you'll do? Slap.
in India.
In India, not in Germany. So you will slap the kid, right? So that's what God is saying, right? You slap the mind. But what Arjun says next? But he's pramadi. Pramadi means he's mad. Right? Have you seen the madman? Right? So if you slap the mad person, what he will do? He will slap you, or maybe he will just laugh. Right? So the God might say that, like Krishna might say, okay, there is a mad person, so you slap him, right? So of course, but there is nothing going to happen to the mad person even if you slapped him, right? So then Krishna says to the god, so then tie him to the ropes, or tie him to some pillar with the chains. Right? So if we tie the mad person to the rope, of course he will not move, or he will not make you angry, right? So, but what Arjuna is saying, but he is also Balwar. That means he is so strong, right? He can break the chains. The madman, which is tied to a pillar with chains, he can break the chains, right? So God is saying that okay, tie him with 2 chains, 3 chains. If one chain doesn't work, what you will do? You will tie the mad person with the 2 and 3 chains, right? But Arjuna is saying that no, he is very drid. Drid means he's very obstinate, right? He doesn't listen, so he will still break the chains, right? Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai, Gaurav ki Jai, Prabhupada ki Jai. So Krishna is saying that the mind is so dridam, right? So it's very obstinate. It doesn't listen, right? So stubborn, basically, right? So Krishna is saying that it is even easier for me to control the wind, but it's not easy for me to control the mind. So can you imagine the Arjuna who won all the 3 planetary system? He is not able to control the mind. Who are we? Right? So it's very difficult to control the mind, right? Why? Because the nature of mind is restless, then it is mad, strong, and obstinate, right? So have you seen monkeys? Right?
Yeah.
So monkeys are caught in a mode of ignorance, basically, right? So the mind is compared to the monkey, right? Have you seen the story of like monkey mind, right? So the mind is like a monkey who has drank alcohol, right? Who is beaten by scorpions. Okay, who is bitten by a scorpion, who is stuck with an electric shock, right? If you struck the monkey with electric shock, plus he is haunted by a ghost. So means like our mind is like that of monkey who is like drunk, beaten by scorpions, plus like if we give an electric shock, plus it is haunted, like how haunted people behave. Not sure if you have seen any. Right, so our mind is compared to that, right? So that's how difficult to control our mind, right? Or that's how it is difficult, or that's the nature of our mind, right? And if you look at the mind, always try to provoke us, do this, do this, do this, right? And when you do that, once you do that, you feel regret, why I did it, right? And mind only chastises us, why did you do it, right? After doing it, and again the mind makes us forget, and mind makes us again do it the same thing, right? So that's the nature of mind, that it always want to provoke us and wants to do the things that we should not be doing, and it doesn't do the things that we should be doing, right? And the nature of the mind is that it is never satisfied. So there is one book by the author. So the name of the book is that If You Married a Wrong Person. What is the name of the book? If You Married a Wrong Person. Right. So when the publisher published this book, the book was like a high selling book. Why?
Everyone wanted to know.
Because because everyone wanted to know, like if I were married a wrong person, right? And the book was the highest selling worldwide, right? And similarly, like okay, like if you are married and you always wait, oh, I could have waited, I could have got the better model, right? If you buy a mobile phone, similarly, if you buy a phone, again you wait for like okay, after buying, what you thought? Oh, I could have waited for 2 more months, right? I could have get a better model than this, right? So the nature of mind is that it never satisfied. Whatever you do, it always want. It always said, I wish, right? So it always want to do something, right? And especially in Kali Yuga, the mind is never satisfied. right? So at least in the Satyuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapar Yuga, people had, people used to do the austerities and they used to do a lot of, the devotional service. So their mind was completely satisfied. But if you look at the people of Kali Yuga, our mind is never satisfied, right? And what we don't have, we always look for that, right? So today is like little hot. So you might be thinking, oh, why it is so hot? It should be slightly cold, right? Tomorrow it will rain. So you'll think, oh, why it is raining, right? And after some days it will start, winter. So what you will think? Why so cold? Right? So mind always desire what it is not, right? So when it's cold, it wants hot. When it is hot, like in summer we wanted cold. So it always like this, right? So how do we see mind? So mind can be categorized in a two ways, right? Or mind can be seen in a two ways. So one is called as a conscious mind, okay, and the second is called as subconscious mind,
Conscious mind.
right? So anybody know what is the difference between conscious mind and subconscious mind? Of course you know. So, anybody wants to share?
So conscious mind is something that like we are controlling in present, but subconscious mind is something that we have learned from a very long time. For example, like riding a cycle. So if anyone who sits on a cycle, they know how to ride a cycle. So that's something that is fit in our subconscious mind. But so yeah.
So the conscious mind means the things or action that we do by intentionally or consciously, right? And subconscious mind means which is your nature by default, right? So subconscious mind means you wake up in the morning, so you don't have to think that okay, like you have to brush your teeth and you have to take a bath. Of course, some of my friend has to think, but in general you don't have to think, right? So you have to brush and you have to take a bath, or even eating food, how to eat food, right? With spoons or even with hands. So it's our by default nature, right? So if we look at mind, so M stand for magnify the problem, right? So why mind magnifies the problem? If you even see small thing, so you make it so big that you start overthinking about it, and that's how you suffer, right? Like two people are in relationship, even if the boy or the husband sees his wife with some other person talking, he started making stories in his mind, and he starts suffering. Oh, they might be having affair, right? Or she may not be good, right? So all the time the mind always magnifies the problem. So that's the nature of mind, right? So M stand for magnify the problem, right? The I stand for imagining the pleasure, right? So always like, how many of you like gulab jamun?
Everyone.
So gulab jamun or any sweet. How it tastes? Amazing, right? So the moment I said gulab jamun, you started imagining, about gulab jamun. Unfortunately, we don't have today in our prasadam. So the mind always start to contemplate on the things, and it start to, fascinate about the things of enjoyment, right? So that is the nature of the mind without thinking about the consequences, right? It doesn't think never about the consequences, what is going on mind, but it always, imagining the pleasure all the time, right? The N stand for negate the responsibilities, right? So the mind never wants to take any responsibility, right? It always wants to enjoy, right? So some people, have you seen, like they don't want to do anything in their life, right? All the time they just want to sleep, be at home, watch Netflix, order from like Zomato, Swiggy, Lefrando, what else in Volt in Germany, right? So they don't want to take any responsibility, and they want to just watch Netflix and Amazon Prime, right? So that's how the life is, right? And if they do anything irresponsible, what it carries? They carries a guilt, right? Sometimes, like if we do something irresponsible, it is carried by guilt, right? So like if you are guilty of something, that is a good thing, right? Why? Because the more guilt you have, that means the more connection you have with the Supreme Lord, right? And again, like if you are feeling guilty, and again if you commit the same mistake, the voice of the Supreme Lord from your heart will, like, slow down. If you commit more mistakes, then again you will feel guilt, but it will not be so much, right? So the voice of the Supreme Lord will go down, right? So the coming guilt is a good thing, right? But people do it so much time that they could not hear the voice of the Supreme Lord from their heart, and that's how they engage in all the bad habits, even though they know that it's wrong, right? For example, eating meat, right? Everyone knows that it is a sin, right? But they have eaten so many times that they forgot that, okay, like they don't care anymore. Like today I was talking with my friend in office, so I was telling him, do you know that, like, if you eat a meat, whatever the animal that you are eating, next life you will be eaten by them. So basically there is one, in a fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is one story. So there was one king, Prachin Bharishe, okay? So he used to do sacrifices, but basically he was not eating animals, but he used to do the sacrifices of animals in the, the fire, right? And the Narad Muni came, and he said, like, why are you doing sacrifices? He said, like, I want to go to the higher planetary system, right? And then Narad Muni showed to the sky, and he said, what do you see? So what he saw, all the dead animals, what he has killed, so they were waiting for when he will die, right? So that's how the meat eating works, basically sin works, right? So basically the people know that it is sinful, but still it's become so much part of their nature. The voice of the Supreme Lord is so low in their, because of committing so many times the same sin, so they cannot hear the Supreme Lord in their heart, right? So the N stand for negate responsibility, right? And D stand for the N stand for negate responsibility, and D stand for denying reality, right? So our mind always want to deny reality, right? So even have you seen, like, the people get like 30-year-old, 35-year-old, still they want to watch like Superman, Spider-Man, Ant-Man, right? Because they don't want to live in the reality, right? So they always want to enjoy, right, what is not there, right? So that's how the nature of the mind. So who remembers all the three acronyms, all the four acronyms of the mind? M for
Magnify the
I
problems.
for
Imagine
imagination.
pleasure, okay,
Yeah,
imagining the
imagining
pleasure.
And for negligence.
Neglect the
Negate the responsibility.
responsibilities.
And D for
Deny the realities.
reality, right? So that's how the nature of mind, right? So that's why it's very important to educate our mind, right? But are we really spending time, to educate our mind or to train our mind? No, right? So since our childhood, like, okay, like if you have fever, anybody, like, okay, like you go to the doctor and you take care of your, the physical health, right? But since our childhood, no one has taught to how to take care of our mental health, right? In like everywhere, basically. If you look at 90% of the problem why people are suffering, they are because of their mental health issues, right? And if you look at, basically earlier there was no mental health day and anything like this, because of course people had a problem mental health, but of course they were like literally pious or spiritually inclined, so they used to manage their problem like this. But recently it started creating awareness about mental health, because people are realizing that, okay, so it is so important for being mentally good, right? Do you know, like, when the first mental health day was celebrated, or when they started doing it? How many years back, maybe guess? They started this day. 15?
10-20 years with 50.
Okay. So they started first day on 10th of October 1992.
92.
So it's almost like 30 years back. Yeah. Because like they started creating awareness That's along with the physical health, it is also important to manage our mental health. Right? And being with our mind, if it is not educated, it's like being with a kid, right? So kid is restless, he doesn't listen, right? So imagine if your guru is a kid who is like eating a lollipop, what will be your life? Will you take instruction from the your guru who is like a restless, who is a kid and who is mad? No, right? So your life would become hell, right? So that's why it is very important to educate our mind. And so there is one speaker, so he says that I preach all the time, but sometime I speak. So rest of the time he is preaching to whom? To his mind. Right? So sometimes only he preach, like sometimes only he speak, but all the time he's preaching. So all the time he's preaching to whom? His mind, right? Because the mind is the most difficult thing that we can, control or make him, the servant of the Lord, right? So have you seen the big, like the sadhus or the big saint, they fall down because okay, they are giving, the pravachan to the other people, they are giving class to the other people, but they themselves are not able to control their mind because they are not preaching to their own mind, right? So in India also in other part of the world you have seen like big saints are there, like this they're supposed to call them as a saint, and they fall down because of course their mind was not in their control, right? So why? Because they were not educating their mind, right? And if you look at the mind always have some pop-ups, right? How many of you use Google? Some pop-up come and you just open the pop-up and you never know, like for next 1 hour your time is wasted. Right? So you are like working or you are doing some study, your laptop is open, you are using internet and some pop-ups come and 1 hour is gone, right? So it's like that, right? And why the pop-ups come? Because our mind is filled with, our subconscious mind is filled with the negativity, right? So there is so much negativity in our mind, right? Why this so much negativity in our mind? Because subconsciously we have trained our mind to think like this, right? And if you look at people like so much negative thing, right? So if you look at like in the newspaper, so there is like special 3 or 4 pages about the crime, right? So there is in India there is one serial crime patrol. So like I have seen my friends are enjoying that like anything, like all the time they are just watching that, and what they are showing is the negative thing, right? Like how the wife had an affair with one man and then husband came to know, and how the husband killed the man, so or the wife or both, right? So all the newspaper, all the TV serials are filled all the newspaper TV serials are filled with negative, right? Because that's the nature of our mind. So mind always want to see the negative, right? And if you look at all the TV serials, like what our mother used to watch, Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, what else? Tulsi, Kahani Ghar Ghar Ki. I think the non-Indians may not understand. So there were like serials, daily soaps basically. So there used to be so much drama in those serials, right? And like our mothers used to sit and she used to watch like Idol. If you change the channel, there will be one more drama in your home, right? So that's how it is, like our mind is attracted to the negativity. So that's the nature of mind, right? So we have to change the data of mind consciously, right? So if you look at, our mind is corrupted with so many viruses, right? So it's not easy to work with, like if you open the laptop and if your laptop is corrupted with so many viruses, you cannot work with the laptop, right? Similarly, if our mind is so much corrupted with the wrong data, negative thoughts and everything, you cannot function basically. Because if you want to achieve anything successful in life, you may not able to do that because your mind is not supporting that, right? So that's why it is very important to train our mind consciously by with the right data, so that we can change our subconscious mind to think positive way, right? So that's why it is very important to consume right what we are seeing, right? So sometimes like in a childhood, like small children, even I see like they play such a horrible games like killing each other. I don't know any game because I never played video games. So so but there are games like killing each other, fighting. So when they grow up, so they become so much aggressive, right? Because since childhood, what they have fed to their mind, very aggressive data, fighting and killing, right? So what would be the outcome? So the outcome would be negative only, right? So there is one verse, right, or the quote, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you eat the garbage, if you input the garbage, the output will also be garbage, right? So that's the nature of mind, right? But if you, it's very interesting that the Srimad Bhagavatam says that the mind is made up of the mode of goodness, right? So you might be saying that, okay, if the mind is made up of mode of goodness, so why it is so, obstinate, right? So the nature of mode of goodness is to focus or is to meditate, right? And you might be seeing that the mind is also like to meditate, right? So the mind is made to meditate on the Supreme Lord, but rather than meditating on the Supreme Lord, it is meditating on what? The wrong things. So it is meditating, right? But it is meditating on the wrong things, right? So and when basically it is meditating on the wrong things, we call it as I'm distracted, or my mind is distracted, right? So basically the function of the mind is to focus, but if you are not able to focus on the right thing, then you are distracted, right? And what is the right thing? Like meditating or focusing on the Supreme Lord, right? And so basically if we focus on changing the data of our mind like consciously, then automatically over the period our subconscious mind will become a devotee of the Lord, right? Because the positivity comes from spirituality, right? So you might be thinking, right, there are so many motivation speaker in the like on the YouTube and everything. So what they say, do it, just do it. You can do it. Nothing is impossible for you, right? Asan hai. Asan means it's easy. Like all the time they are preaching about, oh, do it. But is it easy to do it? No, right? Basically all the motivational speaker, they are all cheaters, right? So basically without the devotion, we cannot change our mind, right? So the mind requires a devotion. So you can do all the practices of this material world, but you cannot control your mind. So specifically after only doing the devotion to the Supreme Lord, then only you can control the mind, right? So how many of you know IQ? What's IQ? Intelligent quotient, right? So earlier, like when companies started, recruiting people, they used to hire people based on the IQ, right? Very super intelligent people. They are very, sharp, smart, So, but over the period, they understood that, okay, these people are okay, very intelligent, but all the scams are done by these people only. They are only doing all the scams, right? So, in addition to intelligent quotient, so they started hiring people with the EQ. So EQ means emotional quotient, right? So the emotional quotient, okay, the people are good with the scams and all, but these people are like, so they are so emotional that if something happens, they drink alcohol, they slap someone, so they are slow emotional, right? So the recruiters, the HR said, no. Like, okay, IQ is good, EQ is good, but we also need SQ. What is SQ? Spiritual question. Okay, so it's good to have like intelligent people, emotionally stable people, but more than that, it is important to have a spiritual people. Why? Why the companies want the spiritual people? Like who have a SQ, not exactly spiritual, but who have SQ.
They will be humble.
Okay. Devotional.
Prabhuji, they have intelligence as well as emotions, control over emotions.
Emotions.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, right. So if you are a like spiritual person, automatically you are stable, right? You are honest, and you will not do any scams, and your behavior overall would be good with the everyone, right? So that's why like companies want a spiritual people. Right? So, but if you see the nature of our mind, so how we fall to the prey, right? So first we dwell on the things, right? So sometimes you may not be actually wants to do something, but you are dwelling on something, right? So once you dwell on something, what you want to do? You desire, right? So you want to desire, like once you want to dwell, so after that you desire, right? After you desire, what you want to do? You decide how I'll do it. And once you decide what you do it, sorry, what is the fourth stage? You do it. Right? So first you dwell our mind on the things, okay? Then you desire for it, then you decide about it, and then you finally do it. And then you regret, oh, why I did it, right? So the fifth D that we require, what it is?
Devotion.
Okay, what else? Devotion is sixth. So the 50 that require is a discriminate, right? So discriminating. So Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharaj ki jai, Gauranta ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. So basically, so we have to discriminate from the divine and the evil, right? So if you look at in this material world, there are so many divine forces as well as there are so many evil forces, right? So with the mind, so you have to discriminate what is divine or what is good for you and what is bad for you, right? So that's that's how you can tackle your mind. But what's the purpose of the mind? Or what is the purpose of this like human form of life? Anybody wants to share? Like why you have taken this human form? Why you didn't appear in the form of like cat, dog, bull, whatever you see? So what's the purpose of human form of life?
To serve Krishna.
Okay. But how you will serve Krishna? Before that, what you have to do?
By knowing Krishna.
Okay. But before knowing Krishna, what you have to do?
Becoming
Know
conscious. Conscious.
Conscious. Okay. What else?
Willingness.
Willingness. But how willingness will come?
If you love Krishna.
By
Yeah,
controlling-
but how?
by controlling the mind.
How you will control the mind?
By tuning it.
And by good association, like good association of devotees and good people.
So, of course, like you all are right. So, but if you look at the basic, the purpose of the human form of life is to fight the mind. Right? How many of you see the boxing match? Like there are two opponents, and if one opponent is like very strong and he just kicks, like I think Mike Tyson. I'm not sure, I never seen him, so I just heard. So the Mike Tyson, he was so powerful, with like the other opponent couldn't stand in front of him for like 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes. With his one punch, he is to make other opponent unconscious, right? So the mind is like that, the boxing match. So we are playing boxing match with our mind, right? And with a one punch, our mind gives one punch to us, and we are just fall unconscious, right? So that's the nature of mind. So at a basic level, of course, the purpose of the human form of life is to fight with our mind, right? So until and unless we fight with our mind, we cannot rise to the level of devotional service, or we cannot even take up devotional service, right? So when we struggle with mind, so Krishna becomes very pleased, right? So when we struggle with the mind, Krishna becomes pleased. But Krishna becomes even pleased if you win the match with the mind, right? So once you win the match with mind, the Krishna will become even pleaser, right? So, but how can we get out of this? You know, the like how many of you seen the muddy area? Like if you go there, so you'll just go down. The more you try to come out, so the more you will go inside. Like in Hindi, it's called as daldal. Or I tried to see the English meaning, so it was weird. So I did not remember it. So the muddy area, right? So if you try to in the Cartoon Networks or some Pogo, they used to show, right? So some like Tom and Jerry, they are playing, and Tom goes, and the more he try to come out, so the more he's going like the muddy area.
It's called a marsh.
Marsh.
Yeah.
Ah,
Quicksand. I just googled.
quicksand, yeah, quicksand, yeah. So our mind is like that, right? The more we sometimes the more we try to come out, the more we go inside of the the quicksand of mind, right? So but like the person who is in this quicksand, he cannot come out, right? So you need someone who is outside of the quicksand, right? Who are the person? So the Krishna is there. So we have to call for Krishna, right? If you have to come out of the the quicksand of mind, and we have to call for the pure devotees of the Lord. So if you have to come out of this daldal of the mind or the quicksand of mind, right? So that's why we have to take a shelter of Krishna and the pure devotees, so that we can come out of this, the quicksand of mind, right? And how we can control mind? So the Krishna says that so you can control mind by two ways. One by practice, like you have to practice certain things, and second thing by renunciation, by detachment with certain things. So that's how you can control mind, right? But like in a simple level, how you can control mind? By educating our mind, okay? By pampering our mind. Sometimes we also have to pamper, because like kids, right? If you are a kid, so you need to pamper the mind, right? Sometimes you have to ignore your mind. Like sometimes your kid is making so much noise and so much drama, right? So you have to ignore the kid, right? You know that he is not going to improve. So better I'll keep my peace of mind, right? So that's how we can by educating, by pampering, and by ignoring, we can control our mind, right? And so if the mind who is controlled, it is our best friend, but the uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy, right? So Krishna says that the mind can make heaven into hell and hell into heaven. So you might be living in a very good situation, you might have a good house and everything, you are eating 3 times a day, you have a good sleep and everything, but still you are looking for one thing that is missing in your life, right? So it's similar to that, right? You ate a mango and there is one fiber stuck in your one of teeth. Where will the tongue go? In the one teeth where the mango fiber is stuck, right? So because that is the nature of the mind to always see negatives and always see the things that is not there, right? So that's why it is very important to train our mind, and rise to the level of devotional service, right? But how can we train our mind? So you might be have question, we heard so much, mind is like this, mind is like this. If you don't tackle mind will just punch you hard, right? But how can you control your mind? So any suggestions or any thoughts? Anybody has it?
Chanting.
Okay. What else?
Practice the right things.
Meditation.
Meditation.
Associating with the pure devotees of the Lord.
Okay.
The people that you hang out with, the
Association,
the
like
things that you
your
should do.
friends.
Yes.
Okay. What else? Yes.
Reading the right things.
Okay. Reading scripture, let's say.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I mean.
Cleanliness and hygiene.
Huh?
Cleanliness and hygiene.
Cleanliness and hygiene.
Yeah.
Like eating
Like
good
a healthy,
food.
a healthy mind reside in a healthy body. I would
That's
say.
good for body.
Yeah, of course. Like, yeah, one way it's like if your place is so much scattered, so your mind is disturbed. The more things it will see, so it will divert his attention and focus to that. So that is also one
The
thing.
mind also observes itself.
Observe its
Itself. The mind
himself.
observes,
Okay, observing himself.
and the mind decides to go another path.
Okay,
It is the mind.
okay. Okay, so let me share one story. okay, about the mind. So there was one boy, so he was, just walking on the desert, and he got one lamp, right? And he just scratched the lamp, and the genie come out, like jinn. How many of you know jinn? Like Aladdin and jinn. So, so the jinn come out from the lamp, and then this boy said, "Oh, like who are you?" So the jinn said, "I'm the jinn. I can fulfill all your wishes." Right? So the jinn said, "I can fulfill all the wish or desire what you will ask, but I only have one condition." So you might have heard this story. So I have only one condition, that if you stop giving, instruction to me, I will kill you. So this boy was very happy. Oh, of course, like I will be having unlimited desires. So of course he will always be busy, right? So he said that, okay, like build a house for me. So in seconds he built a house, because he's a jinn, right? He can do magic and he can do anything, right? So he said, okay, like I want to do like world tour. So like he just went to America in seconds, right? Then I want a private jet. So in second, like there was a private jet. So he was like, for after like 1 hour he did not have any desire or any wish. What should I tell now? So Jin was telling that, okay, like as I promise, if you don't tell me anything, I will kill you, right? And then this boy, like he started running, and so he went to one saint, and so he said, oh, like great saint. So I got this lamp, and from this lamp, this jinn has come, and now since I cannot able to give any instruction to him, so he wants to kill me. So can you please tell me what can I do? So the saint said, okay, do you have ladder? Take the ladder, okay, and put the ladder on the wall, and take the jinn that, okay, till the time I don't ask you anything, just go up the ladder and come down. And again, once you come down the ladder, again go up the ladder, come down. So you do this till the time I ask you to do next thing, right? So the jinn is like what? Our mind, right? So it can fulfill a lot of our desire, but when it doesn't have to do it, literally kills us, right? In Hindi there is one quote, like the empty mind is, also in English I think, the empty mind is devil's house, or the home, right? So the more you keep your mind empty, the more you will have to suffer through mental health issues, right? So what is the ladder for our mind? Chanting, right? So by chanting the holy name of Krishna, what is the Mahamantra? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So only by chanting the name of Krishna, by engaging our mind in the devotion, we can control our mind. By no, Dhyan yoga, any XYZ yoga, you cannot control your mind, right? Like people you might have seen, like, okay, they are doing this silence meditation, right? But all the time they are, closing their eyes, and what they are thinking, okay, like they are thinking about, okay, I want a big house, I want a beautiful wife, okay, I want like good kids, oh, my neighbor should be beautiful, right? So all the time they are thinking about, the things or a desire they want, right? So basically the silence meditation is not recommended for the age of Kali or age of Kali Yuga, because our mind by default is so, chattering or so difficult, right? So only by the chanting the name of Krishna or by chanting the Mahamantra, we can control our mind, right? So there was one boy, so who was practicing, silence meditation or a Buddhist meditation, okay? So in I think Harvard University, okay? So he went to library, and he had a book, and he was reading about the silent meditation book, okay? And after reading for 2 hours, he didn't get anything. He said, oh my God, this is so complicated, right? And after 2 hours, so after finishing, so he he went to the shelf and he put the book back, and while putting back, one book fall on his head, right? And he opened the book, and the book was, the name of the book was Chant and Be Happy. So he read this book for like a couple of chapters, And after that, like he literally started doing the chanting, right? Because the silent meditation is not so practical, right? Because you can try, right? You sit for 10 minutes silently. I doubt you'll able to like sit peacefully because your mind will always try to eat or try to kill you, right? But like if you focus on the the Mahamantra, chanting the holy name, so then you can control your mind, and that's how you can make your mind spiritual, right? Because it is very it is very difficult to make our mind a devotee. We can make a devotee, but it's very difficult to make a mind a devotee, right? And of course you can chastise your mind. There is no Vaishnava aparadh if you like scold your mind, because the mind is not a devotee. Right? So by chanting the holy name of Krishna, you can spiritualize your mind, and that's how you can improve your mental health. Right? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So any comments, questions, or anything for me?
Prabhu, you talked about SQ as spiritual position.